The weight we carry. The first thing you learn as a bridge inspector is that steel doesn't lie. People do. Weather does, time does, but a crack in a support beam tells you exactly how much weight it's been carrying and for how long. The second thing you learn is that sometimes the most dangerous thing on a bridge isn't structural failure. It's a person standing on the wrong side of the railing. I was 40 feet up on the steel bridge's maintenance catwalk when I saw him. Tuesday, 6:47 a.m., January in Portland, which meant rain and wind, and the kind of cold that gets inside your bones. I'd been inspecting Pier 3's eastern support since dawn. Routine checkup, nothing critical, the kind of work that keeps bridges standing and cities moving. Then I looked down through the steel lattice and saw someone climbing over the pedestrian railing. My radio was in my hand before I consciously decided to grab it. Dispatch, this is Inspector Cole on Steel Bridge. I have a possible jumper, east side pedestrian walkway, approximately mid-span. Sending exact coordinates now. Copy that, Inspector Cole. Emergency services en route. E to 12 minutes. Can you maintain visual? 12 minutes. The Willamette River was 45 degrees and moving fast from upstream rain. 12 minutes might as well be 12 hours. Affirmative. I'm going down. I shouldn't have gone down. Protocol says maintain distance, wait for professionals, don't engage. But I'd spent 3 years inspecting bridges and I knew something dispatch didn't. The Steel Bridge's pedestrian walkway has a maintenance access ladder. That puts you on the walkway in 90 seconds instead of the 5 minutes it takes to run from either end. I was on that ladder before dispatch. Could tell me not to be. The guy was maybe 20 feet away when I cleared the catwalk. Young, early 20s, wearing a soaked hoodie and jeans, both hands gripping the outer railing. The wind was pushing rain sideways, and the bridge was doing what the steel bridge does in storms, moving. Not much, just the normal flex and sway that means the structure's healthy. But enough that you feel it if you're standing still. Enough that someone on the wrong side of a railing might lose their grip. Hey, I called over the wind and rain. I'm Ethan. I work on this bridge. Mind if I stand here for a minute? He didn't turn. Go away. Can't do that. This is my bridge. If something happens to you, I have to file a report. Paperwork's a nightmare. I kept my voice level, conversational, like we were discussing weather. Also, it's my job to make sure everyone on this bridge stays safe. Including you. I'm not on the bridge. I'm over it. Technically true. You're still my responsibility. Bridge inspector rules. There's no such thing as bridge inspector rules. Sure there are. Rule 1, check the steel. Rule 2, check it again. Rule 3, if someone's in danger on your bridge, you don't walk away. I moved closer, slowly, hands visible, nothing threatening. I'm Ethan Cole, Oregon DOT. Been inspecting this bridge for 3 years. What's your name? Silence. Rain hammering down. The Willamette dark and fast below us. Then Tyler. Okay. I was 10 feet away now, close enough to see he was shaking. Cold, fear, whatever was driving him out here. Tyler, I'm going to be straight with you. I'm not a counselor or a cop or anyone qualified to help with what you're going through. But crisis services are on their way. And there's someone really good coming who can help. Will you talk to him when he gets here? I don't need help. I need this to stop. I get that. I did get that. More than he knew. But here's the thing about bridges, Tyler. They're designed to carry weight. That's their entire job. Support loads they weren't originally built for. Adapt to stress. Flex instead of braking. I rested my hand on the railing. The safe side. This bridge has been carrying trains and cars and people for 115 years. It's carried more weight than anyone thought it could. It's still here, still strong, still doing its job. That's a metaphor. Yeah, I'm not great at this. I managed half a smile. But it's also true. This bridge has held more than it was designed for. So can you? He finally looked at me. You don't know anything about me. You're right. I don't. I held his gaze. But I know you're cold and wet and hurting, and whatever brought you here feels impossible. And I know that 12 blocks from here, there's someone whose entire job is helping people carry impossible things. He's really good at it. Will you wait 12 minutes and talk to him? What if I say no? Then I stay here with you until you change your mind. I meant it. I've got time. I've got a thermos of coffee in my gear bag. I've got nowhere more important to be than making sure you're safe. The wind picked up. The bridge swayed. Tyler's grip tightened on the railing. 12 minutes, I said quietly. That's all I'm asking. 12 minutes to talk to someone who actually knows what he's doing. If it doesn't help, I can't stop you. But give it 12 minutes, please. I don't know what made him nod. Maybe exhaustion. Maybe the fact that I wasn't pushing, wasn't grabbing, was just standing there in the rain like an idiot asking for 12 minutes. But he nodded. Okay, I breathed. Okay, thank you, I radioed dispatch. Updated them. Told them to bring the crisis counselor straight to our position, east walkway, mid-span. Then I did what I'd promised. I stayed. Talked to Tyler about bridges and rain and Portland and nothing important. Kept him talking. Kept him grounded. Watched the clock and prayed someone would get here who actually knew how to save people. At minute 11, I heard footsteps. Fast, but not running. Purposeful. Then a voice. Tyler. My name is Marcus. I'm a crisis counselor with Portland Mental Health Services. Ethan radioed that you might be willing to talk to me. Is that still true? I turned and saw him for the first time. Marcus Liu was maybe 5'10", lean build, Asian American, wearing a waterproof jacket over what looked like running gear. Dark hair plastered to his head from rain. Wireframe glasses somehow still on despite the wind. He was soaked and breathing hard like he'd sprinted here, but his voice was calm, steady, the kind of voice that made you believe everything might actually be okay. Tyler was staring at him. You ran here? Yeah, you're 12 blocks from the crisis center. Faster to run than wait for transport. Marcus moved closer, slowly, carefully, every movement deliberate. I'm going to come stand next to Ethan, if that's okay with you. Just so I can hear you better over the wind. Tyler nodded. Marcus stepped beside me, close enough that I could feel the heat coming off him from the run. He glanced at me, quick assessment, checking I was okay, then focused entirely on Tyler. Tyler, I'm glad you're still here. I'm glad Ethan called us, and I want you to know that whatever you're feeling right now, whatever brought you to this bridge, it's not wrong or weak or anything to be ashamed of. You're hurting, and that's real, and I'm here to help if you'll let me. His voice. God, his voice. It was doing something to the air, to the moment, making the wind and rain and danger feel less immediate. Tyler's shoulders started shaking. I can't do this anymore. I know. Marcus took another step closer. I know it feels like that. Like there's no way forward, like the pain won't stop. But Tyler, I promise you, what you're feeling right now isn't permanent. It feels permanent, but it's not. And there are ways to make it better. Ways that don't involve this bridge or this river. Will you let me show you? I've tried everything, maybe. Maybe you have tried everything you knew how to try. But I know things you haven't tried yet. Treatments and therapies and support systems that actually work. And I know people who felt exactly like you feel right now, who are alive and okay and glad they stayed. Marcus held out his hand, not demanding, just offering. Come back over the railing. Come talk to me somewhere warm and dry. Let me help you find a way through this that doesn't end here. The silence stretched. Rain, wind, the bridge swaying beneath us. Then Tyler's hand moved. Reached toward Marcus. Marcus took it, firm grip, steady, and helped guide Tyler back over the railing to the safe side. The moment Tyler's feet hit the walkway, Marcus wrapped an arm around his shoulders, supporting his weight. You're okay, Marcus murmured. You're safe. You did the right thing. I'm so glad you're here. Emergency services arrived 60 seconds later. Paramedics, police, the full response team. They took over, wrapping Tyler in thermal blankets, doing medical assessments, preparing for transport to the hospital's psychiatric unit. Marcus stayed with him the entire time, one hand on Tyler's shoulder, talking quietly. When they finally loaded Tyler into the ambulance, Marcus turned to me. You're the bridge inspector who called it in? Yeah, Ethan Cole, Marcus Liu. He shook my hand, still warm despite being soaked. You saved his life. Keeping him talking, keeping him grounded until I got here. That was incredible. I just stalled. You're the one who brought him back. We both did. He smiled, exhausted but genuine. Good teamwork. A paramedic called to Marcus, something about paperwork and follow-up. He nodded, started to turn away. Marcus, I called. He looked back. How do you do that? Stay that calm when someone's... I gestured to where Tyler had been standing. How do you not fall apart? His expression shifted, something complicated in his eyes. Because if I fall apart, they fall. Someone has to be steady. Someone has to hold the weight. He said it like a fact. Like a burden he'd carried so long he'd forgotten it was heavy. Then he jogged to catch up with the ambulance. And I was alone on the bridge with rain and wind and the echo of his voice. But here's what I didn't know then. Marcus Liu wasn't just a crisis counselor who ran 12 blocks in a storm to save someone. He was the kind of person who carried everyone else's weight because he'd learned too young what happens when no one carries yours. Who stayed calm in every crisis because staying calm was survival. And I was about to spend the next 3 months learning exactly what that dedication cost. I couldn't stop thinking about him. 3 days after the bridge, I found myself looking up Portland Mental Health Services. Their website listed Marcus Liu as a senior crisis counselor, specialized in suicide prevention and LGBTQ+ mental health. There was a photo, professional, him smiling in front of the crisis center, looking warm and capable and nothing like the rain-soaked guy who'd talked Tyler down. I told myself I was following up, making sure Tyler was okay, checking in on the case. But I was thinking about Marcus's voice, his hands, the way he'd wrapped an arm around Tyler like it was the most natural thing in the world to hold someone together when they were falling apart. On day 4, I did something probably inappropriate. I called the crisis center. Portland Mental Health, this is Jenna. Hi, this is Ethan Cole. I'm the bridge inspector who was on scene during the steel bridge incident on Tuesday. I wanted to follow up, see how the individual was doing. Oh, Mr. Cole. Yes, let me transfer you to Marcus. He's been handling that case. Before I could say that wasn't necessary, the line clicked. This is Marcus. His voice did the same thing over the phone, made everything feel steadier. Hey, it's Ethan, the bridge guy. I was calling to check on Tyler, but I don't want to overstep. No, this is good. I'm glad you called. I could hear him smiling. Tyler's stable. He's in a 72-hour psychiatric hold at OHSU, getting proper evaluation and treatment. His family's been notified. He's going to be okay. Thanks to you. Thanks to you. Team effort, Marcus said. But actually, I'm glad you called for another reason. I wanted to thank you properly. Not in the rain, not in the middle of a crisis. This is probably weird, but would you want to grab coffee sometime? I'd like to hear your side of what happened. For my case notes, my heart did something complicated. Case notes? Okay, that's a lie. I want to buy you coffee because you seemed interesting, and I'd like to talk to you when we're not preventing someone from jumping off a bridge. A pause. Too direct? I laughed, surprised and genuine. No, not too direct. I'd like that. We met at a coffee shop in the Pearl District 3 days later. Marcus showed up in jeans and a green Henley, glasses and dark hair, and a smile that made my chest tight. Bridge inspector, he greeted, handing me a coffee. Black 2 sugars, I guessed. How did you had a thermos on the bridge. Steam pattern suggested black coffee, and you strike me as a 2 sugars guy. He grinned. Also, I asked what you ordered when I got here early and watched you through the window like a creep. I laughed. Crisis counselor and detective. I prefer to think of it as professionally observant. He sat across from me. So, Ethan Cole, bridge inspector for 3 years. Grew up where? Eugene. Moved to Portland for the job. You? Born in Portland. Chinese-American family, 2nd generation. My parents run a restaurant in Southeast. He wrapped his hands around his coffee. I got into crisis counseling after, well, long story, but I've been doing it for 4 years. It's hard work, but it matters, I could tell. The way you talked to Tyler, that wasn't just training. No, his expression shifted. It's not. I've been where Tyler was. Not the bridge, but the headspace. I know what it feels like to think there's no way out. He met my eyes. That's why I do this. Because someone helped me once. Now I help others. The honesty in that admission made me ache. That's a good reason. It's a heavy reason. But yeah, he smiled slightly. What about you? Why bridges? Because they're honest. A bridge tells you exactly what it's carrying and exactly when it needs help. There's no ambiguity, no hidden problems if you know how to look. I traced the rim of my coffee cup. Also, I like heights, and I like keeping people safe in ways that don't require talking to them. Except when someone's on the wrong side of a railing. Except then. I met his eyes. I'm not good at the people part. You saw that. I didn't know what to say, how to help. You kept him alive until I got there. That's everything. Marcus leaned forward. Ethan, can I tell you something? Most people freeze. They see someone in crisis, and they panic. Or they walk away. Or they make it worse, trying to help. You stayed. You talked to him like a person, not a problem. You gave him reasons to wait. That was exactly right. It didn't feel right. It felt like I was one wrong word away from... But you weren't. You were exactly what he needed in that moment. Marcus's hand was close to mine on the table. You're better at the people part than you think. We talked for 2 hours. About bridges and crisis counseling and Portland rain and what it means to build a life around helping strangers. About growing up queer in Oregon. Me realizing at 16 and spending 2 years terrified my ranch-working father would disown me. He didn't. He just asked if my boyfriend liked football. Marcus, knowing at 12 and having a family that loved him but didn't quite understand. "Can I ask you something personal?" Marcus said as we walked out of the coffee shop into typical Portland drizzle. "Shoot. Are you seeing anyone?" My heart kicked. No, work makes it hard. Weird hours, inspections at dawn, emergency calls. Most people don't get it. I get it. He stopped walking. I work weird hours too. I take calls at 3 a.m. I cancel plans for crisis situations. My last boyfriend told me I care more about my clients than him. Did you? Yeah, I did. No hesitation. But I'm trying to find balance. Trying to find someone who understands that this work matters, but so does... He gestured between us. So does this. Whatever this is. This feels like something, I said carefully. It does. He smiled. Want to find out what? I kissed him there on a Portland sidewalk in the rain, his hand coming up to my jaw, mine to his waist. He tasted like coffee and possibility, and when we pulled apart, we were both grinning. That's a good start, Marcus murmured. Really good start. I agreed. The next 3 months were a study in learning someone while building something real. Marcus's schedule was chaos. 8-hour shifts at the crisis center. Overnight on-call rotations, running to emergencies across the city. My schedule was structured but unpredictable. Inspections. Scheduled weeks in advance, but weather delays and emergency assessments throwing everything off. Somehow we made it work. He came to watch me inspect the Hawthorne Bridge on a rare sunny day, photographing me in my safety harness 40 feet up. I volunteered at the Crisis Center's community outreach events, helping set up chairs and hand out resources while Marcus talked to people about mental health, with the same calm, steady voice he'd used on Tyler. We learned each other in pieces. Marcus made incredible dumplings from his mom's recipe. I could identify bridge types by sight from a mile away. He had nightmares sometimes, crisis calls that went wrong, people he couldn't save. I had scars from a fall during training, 3 broken ribs, and a fear of ice-slicked steel I'd worked through by climbing anyway. You're fearless, Marcus said one night, tracing the scar on my ribs. I'm not. I'm terrified every time I climb a bridge in bad weather. I just do it anyway. That's what fearless means. He kissed the scar. Doing it anyway. We were falling. Fast and hard and real. But there were cracks I didn't see. Tiny stress fractures in the structure we were building. Marcus took every call. Every emergency, every crisis that came through the center's line. He worked 50, 60, 70-hour weeks and called it normal. Came home exhausted and wired, couldn't sleep. Survived on coffee and adrenaline. You need to slow down, I said after finding him at 2 a.m. on our couch. Responding to work emails. I can't. People need help. You need help. You're burning out. I'm fine. But his hands were shaking as he typed. I recognized the pattern because I'd seen it in bridges. Overloaded structures that kept carrying weight past safe limits. Flexing and straining and insisting they were fine until suddenly they weren't. Marcus, I said gently. You can't save everyone. I have to try, and there it was. The weight he'd been carrying since before I met him. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. Marcus had been on call for 36 hours straight. 3 crisis interventions. 2 hospitalizations, 1 successful de-escalation. He came home at 4 a.m., fell into bed, slept for 3 hours. His phone rang at 7:15. I watched him answer. Watched his face change. Watched him sit up, every muscle tense. I understand. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up. Started pulling on clothes. Marcus, crisis call. Repeat client. High risk. I have to go. You've been awake for 36 hours. I'm the only counselor he trusts. If I don't go... He stopped. I have to go. I wanted to argue. Wanted to physically stop him from leaving, but I understood duty, and I understood that sometimes people need you and you don't get to say no. Be safe, I said instead. He kissed me, quick and distracted. Always am. He wasn't. The call came 4 hours later from Portland Mental Health's director. Marcus had handled the crisis successfully. Client was safe, hospitalized, stable. But during the intervention, Marcus had collapsed. Exhaustion, dehydration, his body finally saying enough. He was at OHSU, emergency room. They were running tests. I broke every traffic law getting there. Found him in a curtained bay, IV in his arm, looking smaller somehow in the hospital bed. His eyes were closed, but he wasn't sleeping. I could tell from the tension in his shoulders. "Hey," I said softly. His eyes opened. "Ethan," what did they say? "Exhaustion, dehydration, stress-induced tachycardia." He wouldn't meet my eyes. "They're keeping me overnight for observation." I pulled a chair to his bedside. Took his hand. "Marcus, I know what you're going to say. I'm going to say that I love you." The words came out rough but certain. "I love you, and watching you destroy yourself trying to save everyone is killing me. You can't keep doing this." His hand tightened on mine. "I don't know how to stop." "Then let me help you learn." I brought his hand to my lips. "You told me once that bridges are designed to carry weight, to flex instead of breaking. But Marcus, even bridges have load limits. Even bridges need maintenance and care, and sometimes they need to carry less so they can keep standing." His eyes filled. "What if someone needs me and I'm not there? Then someone else helps them. The crisis center has other counselors. You have colleagues and backup and systems in place." I moved to sit on the edge of his bed. "You're not the only person who can help. But you're the only person I have, and I need you alive and whole and okay, please," he broke then. Quietly, his face pressed to my shoulder, shaking with sobs he'd probably been holding back for years. I held him. Let him cry. Ran my hand through his hair and murmured the things he'd said to so many others. "You're okay. You're safe. You're not alone." When he finally pulled back, his eyes were red but clearer. "I don't know how to do this," he admitted. "How to care about the work but not let it consume me. We'll figure it out. Together." I kissed his forehead. "But Marcus, you have to try. You have to set boundaries and take days off and let other people carry weight sometimes. Because if you burn out completely, you can't help anyone, including yourself." "Including you," he said quietly. "Including me." He nodded. "Okay, I'll try." 6 months later, recovery isn't linear. Neither is learning to set boundaries or finding balance or building a relationship with someone who's still learning how to take care of himself. But we made it work. Marcus cut his hours to 45 per week, still more than normal but sustainable. Started going to therapy himself, processing the things he'd been carrying. Took full days off and spent them with me, hiking Powell Butte or exploring bridges or doing absolutely nothing on the couch. I learned his patterns, the signs when he was taking on too much, the way his shoulders tensed when he couldn't let go of a case. Learned how to support without enabling, how to remind him he was allowed to rest. He learned mine too, the way I got quiet when inspections found serious damage, the protective instinct that made me run toward danger instead of away. Learned how to pull me back when I was overextending, how to remind me that keeping myself safe was part of keeping others safe. We built something steady, something that flexed under pressure instead of breaking. One morning I woke to find Marcus already up, sitting by the window with coffee, watching rain. "You okay?" I asked, wrapping arms around him from behind. "Yeah," he leaned back into me. "Just thinking, about Tyler. I got an email from him yesterday. He's 6 months sober, living with his sister, starting community college in fall." Marcus smiled. He wanted to thank us, both of us. Said we saved his life. "You saved his life." "We did." He turned to look at me. "You kept him alive until I could get there." "That matters." "That's everything." I kissed his temple. "We make a good team." "We do." He pulled me around to sit beside him. "Ethan, can I tell you something?" "Always." "I'm in love with you. Have been since you called the crisis center pretending to follow up on Tyler when really you just wanted to talk to me." He smiled. "I'm in love with you, and I'm glad you exist, and I'm glad you were on that bridge that day. Because it brought me you. My chest felt too full. I love you too. Since you ran 12 blocks in a storm and talked someone down with the calmest voice I've ever heard." I took his hand. "I'm in love with you, and I'm not going anywhere." "Even when I'm difficult?" "Especially when you're difficult." He kissed me there by the window with Portland rain coming down and 6 months of learning each other behind us and everything ahead of us still to build on. 6 months after meeting during a crisis on a bridge, sitting with a counselor who saved lives and learning how to save his in return, I realized something. Some people spend their whole lives looking for someone who understands. Someone who gets that the work matters, but so does coming home. Someone who knows what it means to carry weight and when it's time to share the load. I found that person on the worst day of his work week. And somehow we built this, messy and imperfect and real. That's not a bad story. That's not bad at all.